My name is Peyton Cross, and when my parents told my two kids to make do with the damp basement while my teenage nephew stretched out in the master suite, I smiled, unpacked their pajamas, and started the kind of paper trail that makes people apologize publicly. The house still smells like lemon cleaner and old carpet, the same bi-level I grew up in, brick steps, brass doorbell that stutters, a ceramic goose on the porch and a seasonal vest. Inside, chaos, luggage, a mountain of shoes. My brother Adam clapping his son Jace on the shoulder like he won the Heisman. "Master's yours, buddy," he announces. Mom, Linda, does the half shrug that means the decision is already baked. Dad, Robert, adds, "He's older. Like age grants square footage." Mia, 8, and Noah, 6, hold their little duffels and look at the door to our space. The door sticks. The handle squeals. Cool air breathes up, damp and mineral, like a mouth that forgot to brush. I click the bare bulb. Cobwebs web across the joists like lace with bad intentions. A dehumidifier blinks full. There's a sump pump behind a plastic bin pyramid. A space heater plugged into a frayed extension cord draped like spaghetti over paint cans. The one window is eyebrow small, half buried by landscaping rock, painted shut from someone's enthusiasm in 1999. The carpet is a concept, not a floor. Mom chirps, "It's only for a week," the way people chirp when they know something is wrong but want the week to arrive anyway. "Basements build character," Adam calls down, then laughs. Vanessa, his wife, leans on the handrail and smiles like a Yelp review that hates children. I smile back, because that's the face I learned to wear in this house. My work brain clicks on. I flip basements for a living. Egress, GFCI, vapor barrier, clearance around mechanicals, smoke, chalk CO units, heater wattage, exit path. I clock everything at once. The moldy sweetness, the extension cord, the blocked panel, the geology of nope. I text a photo to Sloan Vega, my best friend who runs into fires for a job, and type, "We've been assigned to the basement." 30 seconds later, he replies, "That basement is a hazard." Upstairs, Jace is in the master bath taking a mirror selfie, steam curling from a shower he didn't pay for. Mia whispers, "Do we have to?" Noah says, "I can be brave," the way 6-year-olds barter with themselves. I kneel between them and say, "We will be safe." Then I open the Notes app, title a new file Basement, Evidence, and promise you, I will show you how I documented, escalated, and reset the family hierarchy, without raising my voice. A second photo from Sloan lands with 3 words, illegal sleeping space. My parents raised me on be useful. I didn't realize that meant be quiet. In our house, usefulness looked like folding towels the right way, and knowing which screwdriver Dad actually wanted even when he said Phillips and meant flat. I learned early that a solution is worth more than a complaint, and that my brother's storms passed faster if I mopped around them. Adam was the responsible one, which in our family meant the loudest one who never faced the invoice. I became the fixer, the kid who patched drywall after he punched it, the teenager who regrouted Mom's backsplash because the grout looked tired, the adult who drives to Home Depot with a list and a budget she doesn't exceed. I used to teach art, middle school, construction paper miracles, and the sound of 30 scissors chewing. After I had Mia and then Noah, I eased into contractor design work, starting with friends' basements that smelled like defeat, and ending with clients who I'd learned to trust that I could pull light out of cement. My husband Theo died when Noah was 2, aneurysm, instant, leaving me with a house that needed too much and 2 kids who needed everything. I sold the place we bought on hope and moved back closer to my parents because even complicated help is still help when the daycare calls at 4 p.m. Linda and Robert love us. They also love order, and their order has always centered Adam. You know families like this. Eldest son as crown prince, daughter as cabinet, dad as king of the garage, mom as secretary of feelings. Adam got trophies and cautions. I got chores and praise. When I won the county design award, Dad said, "That's nice, honey." When Adam negotiated a used SUV, Dad told the neighbor, "That boy could sell rain to a farmer." Vanessa arrived 5 years ago with lashes and a ledger where generosity is a debit. She smiles when you carry chairs. Aunt Carolyn is my counterweight. She's a nurse who doesn't waste words and believes in vitamins, sleep, and paperwork. She taught me this rule when I was 19, and dating a drummer who borrowed my car for gigs and returned it with a new dent. Respect without boundaries is permission. She says it like something you stick above a sink. When Theo died, she stuck it on my fridge. So, yes, we are staying with my parents this week because the school district AES closing days are weird. And my nanny AS on vacation and my basement job uptown stalled over permits and… Fine. Yes, because nostalgia makes you imagine the good version of your childhood will reappear if you drive far enough. I texted Mom a week ago with our arrival time. She replied with 8 exclamation points and 3 casserole emojis. Then, 2 hours before we pulled in, she sent, "So excited." We gave Jace the master. He needs space for his travel team gear. A second bubble. We made up the basement for the kids. It's only for a week. I stared at the message and felt my collarbone tighten. I am not new to basements. I can smell problems before I see them. The maple syrup mildew note the metallic snap of a space heater that's older than the extension cord it abuses. The sump pump that cycles too often because the grating outside pitches rain toward regret. I can spot code blindfolded. No egress window big enough to crawl through. The electrical panel hiding behind a bookshelf like shame. The furnace surrounded by flammable storage. No GFCI near that utility sink. And a smoke detector with a battery pulled because it beeped. I also know the fight version of me that gets loud never wins in this house. The quiet one with a clipboard does. When we roll our suitcases down the hall, Adam opens the master door with a flourish like a game show host. "Here's where the champion rests," he says. And Jace grins, already king of a country he didn't build. The master bath is spa bright. Skylight, big tub, cabinets Mom polishes with church devotion. Vanessa arranges Jace's cleats on the foot of the bed like a still life of entitlement. "He has camp every morning," she says. "He needs sleep." Mia's eyes flick to me. Noah's hand finds my pocket. "I'm a widow, not weak. I'm a designer, not a doormat. Kids will be fine," Mom says, cheerful. "They love adventures. Remember blanket forts?" I do. I also remember parents who left the door unlocked at night, and a smoke alarm that sang us out of the house when a toaster rebelled. "If you need help with bags," Dad calls, "get Jace. He's strong." Adam laughs. I lift my duffel, smile like a well-trained hostage, and reply, "Thanks for hosting." My phone buzzes on the way down the basement stairs. It's Aunt Carolyn. "Call me if they try anything dumb." I type back, "Define dumb." Her dots appear, disappear. Anything with mold. I pocket the phone and turn on the light. The bulb hums. The air says, "Be careful." The note in my phone waits for its first line. I heard "make do" and translated it to "know your place." The door to the basement sticks halfway. A house's way of saying, "Do you mean it?" I mean it. I hip-check the swelling jam, and the smell climbs the stairs to meet us, cool and damp with a ribbon of old laundry. The chain on the bulb tangles with a spider that pays no rent. "Adventure," I say brightly, "because children deserve performance while you figure out your plan." Mia nods, brave to a fault. Noah squints at the sump pump like it's a pet with secrets. The tour is quick and honest. Low ceiling with exposed joists and 3 decades of family handwriting, chalk lines from where Dad measured shelves, pencil dates above water stains, a nail labeled "good extension cord," holding a visibly bad one. The egress is not an egress. It's a horizontal apology, an eyebrow window half buried in river rock painted shut, obscured behind a folding table stacked with church raffle supplies. The dehumidifier flashes full, the kind of warning older people stop seeing the way they stop hearing the microwave beep. The furnace hums in a corner closet like a bear that would like to be left alone. Someone slid a box of Christmas candles against it. The stairs groan when I go back up for the bedding Mom left in a plastic bin labeled "sleepover," a charming lie. In the kitchen, the family first sign rests on the wall, where Dad keeps his mail like trophies. Vanessa adjusts a vase and says, "So cozy down there," with the tone normally reserved for Airbnbs she won't book. Adam pops open a bottle of something sparkling in Jace's honor. Mom wipes a non-existent crumb with a speed that betrays nerves. "He just needs rest," she says for the 3rd time. "Those travel team boys. Whew." Dad pours himself a splash of Jace's bubbles and says, "If they complain, we'll move them to the office." It's a trap. The office holds the treadmill, the file cabinet, and Dad's box fan that only works on hurricane. I smile like a sticker. "Thanks for hosting," I repeat. Then I go back down, because the only way out of a basement is through. Mia sets her stuffed fox on a Rubbermaid like a sentry. "It's okay, Mommy," she whispers. We can be campers. Noah runs his palm across the carpet and announces, "It's crunchy." I laugh so I don't swear. My contractor brain begins inventory. Outlets per wall. 2 and 1 is cracked. GFCI status, no. Panel clearance, blocked by a Dickensian tower of old National Geographics. Smoke, CO presence, 0. I take my tape measure from my purse because yes, I carry one. If you've ever had to fit a sectional into a walk-up, you would too. The eyebrow window measures 19 by 31 inches, minus trim, minus paint. Egress for sleeping rooms requires gross clear opening of 5.7 square feet and a sill no more than 44 inches above the floor. This isn't close. I snap a photo with the tape in frame and save it to basement. Evidence with the caption, "No legal egress." Sloan texts, "Alive?" I send him the dehumidifier reading, the extension cord, the window. He replies in firefighter, "If they make the kids sleep there, I call the fire marshal as a citizen." I type, "Let me try diplomacy." He types, "Clock's ticking." I type, "Copy." Adam clomps down halfway to survey like a landlord. "Basements build character," he announces, grinning. "I slept down here when I had mono." "That explains so much," I say sweetly. Vanessa's perfume arrives before she does. She peers around me like an appraisal. "Oh, it's fine," she declares. Kids are low to the ground. Smoke rises. She laughs at her own science and goes back upstairs. Mia watches me watching Vanessa and squeezes my hand. I take more photos. Temperature at the concrete column, 60 Sutudig, humidity at 70%, space heater wattage plate, 1500 W, plugged into a multi-purpose strip with a red light that flickers when the furnace cycles. I kneel by the water heater and find the clearance blocked by a bin of wrapping paper. I photograph the panel with its face half covered by a shelving unit, then the sump with the check valve wrapped in duct tape like a joke. Every picture is banal, which is how you win with people who need the world to shout before they will listen. "Mom?" Mia whispers. "What if I need the bathroom?" The nearest is 2 flights up on the main floor. "You'll call and I'll go with you," I say, like an adventure. Noah whispers, "Can we sleep on the couch?" My heart does a small treason. "Let's set up here for now," I say, because I need the fire. I spread the sleeping bags. I tuck them in and kiss their foreheads and tuck my rage somewhere I can reach. Upstairs, Jace whoops at something on his phone. Dad laughs like he has a choice. I add one more line in my notes. Offer alternatives. Guest room, office, couch. Get their no in writing. Mia falls asleep first. Noah fakes it until he believes himself. The dehumidifier clicks. The extension cord hums. I text Sloan a photo of the blinking full and put my phone face down. It buzzes again anyway. If they make the kids sleep there, I call the fire marshal as a citizen. I exhale. Noted, I write. Then I turn off the light and make a promise to the dark. Control doesn't always shout. Sometimes it labels your pillow, storage. At 10, the house goes TV quiet. Audience laughter drift, ice clink, a brag about Jace's sprint times. Vanessa's laugh like a bell that wants a raise. Down here, the dehumidifier drones a lullaby pitched for mold. Mia coughs in her sleep. Noah shivers, a tiny quake under his blanket. I unzip my hoodie and lay it over both of them. The space heater's orange coils glow behind the mesh like a cheap sunset. I trace the cord across the floor. It snakes under a folding chair, across the walking path, into a surge strip that also hosts a lamp and someone's nostalgia for Christmas Village lights. Fine. We're recording. I slide my phone to camera, kill the shutter sound, and take video, temperature, 61 degrees at floor, humidity, 72%, heater wattage and strip rating, 15A, already warm to the touch, panel clearance, 18 inches instead of 36, blocked by a bookcase of Reader's Digests, boiler clearance, cardboard boxes within a foot. I narrate lightly for future me and the aunt who loves a receipt. No egress in sleeping area. No CO smoke. Extension cords in use as permanent wiring. Blocked panel. Heater on strip. Humidity high. Dehumidifier full. Upstairs, Adam sabers the champagne with a butter knife for Jace's elite camp send-off. The cork ricochets into Mom's fern. They cheer like they've never met gravity. Dad yells, "To the champion!" and it shivers the HVAC a little. I text Sloan the video and start a running time-stamped log. 10:12 p.m. Kids down. Heater on. 10:19 p.m. Humidity, 72%. 10:27 p.m. Power flicker. Because yes, the light hiccups. The heater dials down and back up on its own, like a sigh on the wrong side of intelligent. I unplug it. The basement goes instantly colder, which is a different risk but less flammable. I wrap my kids tighter and calculate the couch options. There's a rule in my line of work. Solve for life first, comfort second, pride never. I text Mom, kids are cold. Can we bring them up to the couch tonight? A bubble appears, disappears, returns. It's only for a week. They'll adjust. Jace needs his sleep for camp. A second bubble. Blankets in the hall closet. I stare at the exclamation point like a door that won't open. I try, Dad. Space heater is sparking. Might be safer to move them to the couch. He replies, stop being dramatic. We raised you in this house. I almost reply with a photo of the cord and decide to keep my ammunition for an audience that knows what a fuse is. Noah wakes, eyes glossy. Mommy, I feel itchy. He whispers, fingers at his throat. I check his skin. No rash, just sweat on cold. Mia coughs again, the wet kind that makes my brain flip its emergency switch. I sit them both up, give sips of water, count breaths like a nurse I'm not. We're going upstairs, I decide. And there's the woman I recognize. I gather sleeping bags, tuck their feet into slippers, and lead them up the stairs like an exit drill. The bulb flickers as we pass. The space heater pops in the outlet, a tiny spark that looks like a gnat with fire. Up, I say, and they go. We reach the living room. The couch is a doubling relic, sunken in the middle but broad and soft. I make a hollow with spare blankets, tuck them in like burritos, kiss foreheads. Noah's shiver slows. Mia's cough softens. The house makes the night noises of old plumbing and older pride. I put the heater on the kitchen counter like an exhibit and snap 3 photos. Plug, cord, scorch mark on the strip's face. Vanessa floats in to refill her glass, sees me and smirks. Staging the living room now, always on brand. I smile with all my teeth. Parenting with oxygen, I say. She rolls her eyes and sails away. Adam wanders in later, still fizzing. You moved them? He points at the couch like it offended him. For tonight, I say. The basement's damp, and the heater. He cuts me off with a laugh. Short-term discomfort builds resilience, he declares. Jace's coach says elite kids hate easy. Then maybe Jace can build resilience with a fan and a twin bed. I answer, even. He blinks at the audacity of physics and leaves. I text Sloan everything. The photos, the log, the spark. Get them upstairs now, he replies, late to a party I already left. On it, I write. He sends a photo back that makes my scalp prickle. A basement room with an egress cut clean through concrete. Bright light washing a neat bunk built to code. Caption, this is safe. Yours is not. Then a second photo, the one he keeps for people who need the stick. Blocked panel, cord octopus, caught by a furnace. 3 words, illegal sleeping space. I forward the photos to Aunt Carolyn. She replies with 2 sentences. I'm coming in the morning. Bring muffins. Bring my temper. I tuck the blanket around my kids and sit in a chair built for less difficult nights. The house sighs. The notes app glows. Tomorrow. I ask politely. Tomorrow night I don't. I asked for a cot upstairs. They handed me a lecture. Morning makes people think their choices were sensible. Mom hummed over pancakes, spatula tapping a rhythm older than both of us. Dad read the paper like information inoculates against responsibility. Adam scrolled sports. Vanessa curated her face in the microwave reflection. Jace clomped down in slides like a guest star. Mia sniffled. Noah clutched his stuffed fox with both hands like a steering wheel. Mom, I said lightly, could we swap for the guest room? The basement's damp, and the heater sparked. The couch worked last night, but a door would help. I kept my voice in the lane labeled, pleasant adult request. She didn't look up. It's only for a week, she said. Pancake flip. Jace needs rest. Those boys burn calories in their sleep. Dad chuckled as if sleep were an endurance sport. I tried again. Space heater on a strip. Blocked panel. No smoke detector. We can put the kids in the office. There's a door. Adam snorted. Short-term discomfort builds resilience, he repeated. A new religion. Vanessa smiled like a lid. Couch camping is cute, she said. You're making a memory. Jace can have the guest room, I said simply. He can still sleep like an athlete. Jace glanced up, startled at the prospect of fairness. Vanessa's smile thinned. We already laundered the master sheets, she announced, as if clean cotton consecrated entitlement. Aunt Carolyn's voice appeared in my head. Respect without boundaries is permission, and I pictured writing it on the refrigerator with the magnet shaped like a corn cob. Last night, I said. The heater sparked. I unplugged it. The dehumidifier screamed, full. There's no egress. If something happens, firefighters are crawling a rabbit hole behind a folding table to reach my kids. Dad folded his paper with authority. This is your single mom anxiety talking, he said. We raised you in this house and you lived. I smiled politely. I also learned to install smoke detectors at 12, I replied. Allow me to use the skill. I didn't raise my voice. I raised the stakes. I'm moving them to the couch again tonight, I said. If the office stays off limits, I'll grab a cot. Mom flinched at the word grab. Absolutely not, she snapped, the first honest sound in the room. Basement or office were options yesterday. Today, the plan is the plan. Jace needs his routine. Adam clapped Jace's shoulder. Champions need consistency, he declared. The spatula hit the pan too hard. Batter splashed like an exclamation. Mia coughed. Noah set his fox on the table and patted it like a patient. Vanessa watched me watching them like a sociologist observing noncompliance. I'll fold the laundry in the office for you, I offered. An unfair olive branch. No, Mom said instantly. Your hands aren't… Never mind. Translation. Her systems. My interference. We have a guest, she added, glancing at Jace. We're hosting. My smile didn't move. So am I said. I took a breath that stacked like lumber. Okay, I said, bright. Thank you for breakfast. Kids, shoes. We're going to the park. I loaded them into the car, drove 1 block, parked under a maple, and called Aunt Carolyn on speaker. They said basement or office yesterday, I told her. Today, only basement. Heater sparked. No egress. Dehumidifier full. Mia's coughing. She made the nurse noise reserved for malpractice. This is not happening, she said crisply. I'll be there by lunch with muffins and a measuring tape. I smiled at the windshield. Bring your temper, I said. She snorted. Already packed. We did swings and slides until their cheeks flushed with something kinder than defensiveness. I bought lemon ices from the truck, wiped sticky palms, texted Sloan a photo of their smiles because remembering the point helps. He replied with a thumbs up and want me to drop by for coffee? I texted back, yes. Afternoon. Casual. He sent a firefighter emoji and a coffee cup. I laughed for the first time in 24 hours. Back at the house, Dad was fiddling with the lawn sprinkler like water could interrupt a problem. Mom had rearranged the Tupperware cabinet with the intensity of a person reordering reality. We'll put a fan in the basement, she announced. It'll be fine. Fans don't filter smoke, I said, still pleasant. Adam rolled his eyes. You're making a thing because Jace got the big bed. He smirked. It's not about the bed, I replied. It's about the door that opens to outside when the world decides to be unfair. He opened his mouth for another dissertation when the doorbell rang. Aunt Carolyn. Muffins. Tote bag. A look that could sterilize. She sniffed the staircase. Basement, she said. Verdict in 1 word. Let's go. Mom tried a welcome hug. Aunt Carolyn accepted it like a receipt. We walked down. She looked once, twice, then turned to my mother. Linda, she said softly, this is not happening. Aunt Carolyn arrives with muffins, sniffs the basement and says, this is not happening. When you flip houses, you smell problems before you see them. Aunt Carolyn didn't need my swab test to know the air was wrong. She has a nurse's nose that finds mildew like it owes her money. That sweetness, she said, pointing at the corner behind the utility sink. That's mold perfume. I opened my tote. Cheap mold swabs, hygrometer, outlet tester, a packet of egress guidelines I keep in my glove box because my life is a sitcom with paperwork. Mia and Noah perched on the stairs above the landing like balcony judges. I gave them each a dust mask and a job. Count how many webs we could see from where we stood. They took it too seriously, which is how I wanted them to take safety forever. I swabbed the drywall by the baseboard. The strip blushed from cream to gray. Rinse and repeat, Aunt Carolyn said, handing me a Ziploc like an OR nurse. The hygrometer flashed 71% humidity. I ran the outlet tester by the utility sink. 2 amber lights where I wanted 1 amber, 1 red, no GFCI protection. I took photos of the tester in the socket. The timestamp captured itself like a signature. I measured the distance between the furnace and the storage bins. Less than a foot. Combustibles hugging appliances, I narrated. Code wants 30 inches clearance. Mom hovered on the top step, wounded hostess. We keep it tidy, she said. I run the dehumidifier. It's full, I said gently. It's blinking. It's telling you it's drowning. Dad descended 2 steps, hands on hips. This is ridiculous, he announced. People sleep in basements. Aunt Carolyn turned slowly. Love behind steel. People sleep in bedrooms with egress, she said. People don't sleep next to a furnace and call it a guest wing. I printed the county code last night after tucking the kids on the couch. Sleeping rooms in basements require emergency escape and rescue openings with a minimum net clear opening of 5.7 square feet. Sill height no more than 44 inches. Minimum height and width. Door to exterior acceptable if it meets size. Smoke and CO alarms required. Electrical panel clearance. GFCI within 6 feet of sinks. Space heaters not on extension cords. No daisy chaining power strips. I love bullet points the way other women love candles. I spread the printout on the folding table and circled with a red pen like a teacher returning a test. We fail here, 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 and here, I said, polite. But passing is possible. Passing? Mom echoed, insulted by the vocabulary of compliance. This is a home, not a school. Homes burn, Aunt Carolyn said flatly. Homes flood. Homes get sued when they ignore reasonable warnings. She pointed to the eyebrow window. You paint that shut? Mom blinked. Your father did, she said. Dad cleared his throat. It was drafty, he muttered. Carolyn nodded like a judge. Drafts are cheaper than funerals. I texted Sloan. Coffee in 20? He replied. Already on the block. 15 minutes later, he knocked like a neighbor. Mom brightened. She loves uniforms. They mean a system somewhere approves of her. Sloan, she chirped, already pouring coffee. He accepted the mug and drifted down the stairs, glancing once, twice, keeping his tone conversational. Mind if I look? He asked, always curious about old construction. Dad puffed. Be my guest, he said, as if magnanimity neutralized physics. Sloane's eyes did firefighter math. He looked at the panel, the cords, the path from foot of stairs to outside, the distance from sleeping area to exit, the eyebrow window minus landscaping rock, the furnace cuddling cardboard, the absent alarms. You know what I like in basements? He said gently. Detectors, egress, clearances, dry air. Also, not using extension cords as permanent wiring. Also, not putting heaters on strips. He smiled at Mom like a patient teacher. Ma'am, you're one spark from a claim denial. Insurance, Dad repeated, the spell that wakes him. They don't need to know where people sleep. He tried. Sloan shrugged. They will if you need them. They'll ask why a child was in a non-conforming sleeping space. They'll ask for photos. Phones remember. He sipped. So does the smell. Mom's eyes flicked to the family first sign peeking from a box. We would never hurt them, she whispered. I touched her elbow. I know, I said. That's why I'm doing this before hurt has a chance. Aunt Carolyn handed me the swabs like a baton. I labeled them with the date, house number, and my initials. Documentation isn't disrespect, she told my mother quietly. It's love with a spine. Adam appeared halfway down the stairwell, grin ready. You brought backup, he said to me. What's next, a parade? A smoke detector, Sloan said pleasantly. 2, actually. And maybe a conversation about swapping rooms. Vanessa's voice floated from upstairs. We've already laundered the master sheets. It sounded weaker today. Family meeting at noon, I said, smiling like a calendar invite. I'll bring cupcakes and code. Sloan steps in, scans the basement, and quietly says to Linda, Ma'am, you're one spark from a claim denial. The opposite of help is, you're overreacting. We gathered at noon like a committee trying to pretend it was brunch. Mom with her apron like armor, Dad with his arms crossed, Adam with Jace like a prop beside him, Vanessa with a glass of iced tea that looked like a trophy for surviving truth. Aunt Carolyn sat with her nurse posture. Sloan stood by the sliding door, neutral as stainless steel. I brought cupcakes because sugar makes medicine swallowable, and because I believe in aesthetics even during mutinies. Okay, I said, cheerful. We've got 2 options that keep kids safe and your insurance unannoyed. 1, swap rooms. Jace takes the guest room, Mia and Noah take the office. 2. Kids take the office now. We triage the basement's hazards before any future sleeping. Egress, detectors, clearance. Either way, nobody sleeps next to a furnace. Mom inhaled, preparing a hymn. We raised you in this house, she began. You turned out fine. And improved the house, I said. We can do it again. Dad went first with the familiar hook. Dramatic. He said it like a diagnosis. It's a week. He tapped the table. We're not remodeling our lives for a week. Aunt Carolyn slid the county printout toward him like a coaster. You don't have to remodel your life, she said mildly. Just your logic. She tapped the egress line. Sleeping rooms require a way out. Adam rolled his eyes so hard I worried about detached retina. Here we go, he said. The Peyton Show. You make everything a TED Talk. I smiled. Thank you. Talks save lives. Vanessa leaned in. We've already laundered the master sheets, she repeated, like a fact could turn into a principle if you repeated it in daylight. Then wash them again, Aunt Carolyn said without blinking. Jace made a wounded noise. My gear, he protested, gesturing at a duffel with the same reverence monks use for relics. I need space. You need oxygen more, Sloane said gently. You can sleep in the guest room and still be an athlete. Mom shifted tactics. Nostalgia. You kids love blanket forts, she said. Remember the summer storm and we all slept in the den? With the sliding door propped open by Dad's toolbox so we had airflow, I said, and a battery radio to listen to the weather. Dad glanced at the toolbox like it might testify. I laid out evidence without heat. Humidity reading, outlet tester photo, panel clearance photo, heater scorch mark, swabs bagged like evidence cookies, county code page with highlighter. This is not me being dramatic, I said. This is physics and policy. We can fix it, or we can move bodies, Sloane added. Also, acting now avoids the worst version of a phone call later. Mom's eyes watered. You're making me out to be a bad grandmother, she whispered. Aunt Carolyn's hand found hers. You're a human grandmother, she said. Humans get used to conditions. Safety requires rude friends. Dad's jaw worked. We can put a smoke detector down there, he offered, bargaining with bananas at checkout. Do that anyway, Sloane said. But detectors plus no egress still equals trap. Adam leaned back, arms wide, as if hosting a talk show. And hear me out, you could stop trying to run this house, he said to me. You slide in here like a contractor on a job site. Start circling things with a red pen, and forget that parents make the rules. His voice sharpened. It's our house. Our rules. Vanessa nodded like the assistant coach for Team Patriarchy. If you don't like it, Adam added. Hotel. I smiled so brightly it could light basements. Hotel, I said. The room missed a beat. Mom flinched. Don't be ridiculous, she said. We're family. Exactly, I answered. Family keeps kids where the smoke alarm can find them. I stood, kissed Mia's hair, squeezed Noah's shoulder. We'll be back for dinner, I said. Thank you for hosting. Vanessa scoffed. Parenting with theatrics, she muttered. Aunt Carolyn stood too. Parenting with lungs, she corrected. Sloane stayed soft. I can drop by with 2 combination smoke CO units this afternoon, he offered. No charge. Dad softened it free. Fine, he grumbled. Put them up. After the kids are out, I said. And after we talk egress. Mom reached for a muffin like it could help. It's only a week, she pleaded, voice small. Jace needs rest. Jace looked down, suddenly embarrassed by the size of a bed. Adam scowled at my suitcase like it owed him rent. Basement or hotel? Mom said, choosing the hill. I nodded, choosing mine. Hotel, Linda says. It's our house, our rules. Basement or hotel? Peyton smiles. Hotel. Peace costs less than people think. Until you send the receipt. I booked a nearby suite with a kitchenette and a pool shaped like a parenthesis. The clerk slid keycards across the counter with the conspiratorial kindness of people who understand families. Mia and Noah burst into grateful chatter about the pull-out sofa and the ice machine and the novelty of a TV you can hear Vanessa through. I made mac and cheese in a pan that had seen better tenants and watched them eat like children who trust bedtime again. Before we left the house, I taped a polite note to the fridge. Thank you for hosting. We'll be back for dinners and chores. Kids will sleep safe at the hotel this week. Love, P. I Venmo'd Mom half the grocery cash back with a heart and a carrot emoji because she likes those. Then I texted our plan to the family thread. Suite for sleeping. We'll pop by in the afternoons and evenings. Office swap still on the table. Adam had opinions within 30 seconds. Stunt queen behavior, he wrote. Teaching your kids to run at discomfort. I replied with the county code link and a screenshot of the humidity reading like a t-shirt. Teaching them to run at smoke. Sloan forwarded an insurer bulletin he keeps for public education. Non-conforming sleeping spaces may void coverage in event of fire or injury. Keywords: egress, detectors, code. I filed it under future with a tiny fist. Aunt Carolyn texted a grocery list. Bananas, milk, patience, and a reminder to ice Mia's sinus sore. I inhaled the hotel's chlorine memory and exhaled the house's tangle. At dinner, we returned with a good mood on purpose. I brought salad and paper plates, so Mom wouldn't fuss, and so I could throw away evidence of tension. Dad avoided my eyes, then caved to the gravitational pull of grandchildren, and passed Noah a dinner roll like a truce. Jace picked at his pasta, glancing at Mia's cough like a person checking the weather. Vanessa scrolled. Adam narrated a practice drill I pretended to respect. Hotel? Mom said finally, wounded. For a week? It's cozy, Mia offered. Peacemaker. There's a pool, Noah added. And a vending machine. Dad cracked. He loves vending machines. Get the peanut clusters, he whispered. I laughed and let him think he won a skirmish. After dishes, I walked down to the basement alone and filmed a slow pan. Panel, cords, space heater now unplugged on the counter. Dehumidifier still blinking, eyebrow window stubborn in its paint coffin. I added narration for the record. Conditions unchanged. Kids sleeping off site. I texted the video to myself, Aunt Carolyn, and, quietly, Naomi Brandt, a family attorney who sends Christmas cards with statutes on the back. I did not say lawsuit. I said documentation. Back at the suite, the kids took a bath that smelled like hotel soap and possibility. I drafted my math for later. 4 nights at 139s. Breakfasts, gas, laundry, a line item for sanity. And a footnote. Cost comparison to regret, priceless. I aim to send invoices only when needed, but I always aim. Adam texted at 10:12 p.m. You're manipulating Mom. I responded, I'm refusing a fire code violation. He fired back. You're jealous of Jace's success. I sent a photo of a smoke CO combo unit Sloan had installed already in the basement. I'm jealous of oxygen. He replied with a middle finger and emoji. I put my phone face down and chose my children's breathing. At 11:03, Sloan texted, 2 detectors up. Sent Dad an Amazon link for a dehumidifier hose kit so it drains to the sump. Mentioned egress options. He blinked. I sent a halo emoji and a coffee cup for tomorrow. He added, Inspector friend off duty is curious, not official. Eyes, not clipboard. I wrote back, neighbor knowledge welcome. Then, thank you. I fell asleep to the hum of the hotel AC, the honest sound of a machine handling what it was built to handle. Mia rolled toward the wall and exhaled a clear little sigh. Noah dream whispered something about dinosaur cereal. My body unclenched in sections like a house shedding snow. Morning came with small delights. Free muffins, the tiny triumph of correctly operating the waffle machine, a lobby coffee stronger than my mistakes. I checked my phone and found a new message from Sloan. The insurer bulletin PDF, subject line claim denial risks, bolded section on non-conforming sleeping spaces. I flagged it and smiled. Paper loves me back. Sloan forwards an insurer bulletin. Basement sleeping voids coverage if not code compliant. Peyton files it under future. If you won't hear me in the kitchen, you'll hear me with a mic. I was already planning my parents' 40th anniversary backyard party. A slideshow, string lights, rented chairs, a playlist that pretends no one ever fought about who gets the good bedroom. I kept the job because leverage is a better dessert than cake. The slideshow had 2 cuts. Family first, sweet, chronological, baptisms and braces, and what we call love, tasteful, factual, mercilessly calm. I arrived that morning with bins labeled photos, clean, photos, truth, cords, projector, spare HDMI, because details are an ethic. Vanessa intercepted me at the garage with nosy curiosity. Want help? She asked, which in her dialect means, want surveillance? I smiled. Could you polish the frames? Microfiber cloths in the top bin. She shook her head prettily. Ugh, microfiber, she said, and drifted away. I strung lights across the maple like a promise, and taped down cords like a liability waiver. I checked the projector on the white-painted fence. Fonts crisp, pictures bright. The family first cut glowed with nostalgia. Mom's perm of 1987, Dad's mustache of authority, Adam in an elementary school trophy heap, me holding a paintbrush almost as big as my forearm, Jace as a toddler in a dinosaur hoodie, Mia's first day of kindergarten, Noah with a popsicle grin. The good version of us. It exists. I honor it. Then I rehearsed the second cut with my headphones on. Side-by-side frames. The family first. Sign hung above the basement stairs versus a shot of that same stairwell now. Damp and honest. A slide titled, Sleeping Room Requirements, with county code bullets in a font friendly enough to be a wedding invitation. The plugged surge strip versus a crisp product photo of a permanent outlet with GFCI. The eyebrow window with a ruler laid across it versus a code diagram with measurements. A still of the dehumidifier blinking full versus a manual page showing how to install a drain hose. The final frame. Love makes room. No voiceover, just text and time. Around noon, my email pinged. Results from a cheap moisture test I'd mailed in for fun and not fun. High-risk area. Recommend remediation. I forwarded it to myself, to Aunt Carolyn, to Sloan, and, quietly, to Naomi with the subject paper wakes early. A second ping arrived from Sloan. Friend from code enforcement is off duty but curious. Might swing by as a neighbor, not an officer. Name's Hayes. He loves potato salad and compliance. I texted back a potato emoji and come eat and look. Guests arrived with salads and folding chairs and stories about how my parents danced in their kitchen to Elvis. Mom thrived. Parties are her blood type. Dad held court near the cooler, pouring beers like IOUs. Adam hovered near the master bedroom as if guarding a throne. Jace posted a thirst trap with a filter I had opinions about. Vanessa helped in by arranging napkins into cocky little triangles and whispering to 3 cousins about how strong Jace's mental grit is. I smiled and clipped a wireless mic to my collar. Aunt Carolyn took tickets at the dessert table like a bouncer. Sloan arrived with a store-bought pie and a smile that disarms without telling you where your wallet is. A tall man in a Cubs cap came with him, Hayes, who brought a potato salad and the quiet gait of a person who reads walls. He shook Dad's hand like a neighbor and complimented the lawn. Then his gaze drifted to the side yard where the basement eyebrow window sulked beneath rocks. He said nothing yet. At dusk, I tapped the mic and the backyard hushed. 40 years, I said, picture of my parents' wedding on the fence behind me. My voice kinder than the week deserved. 40 years of casseroles and arguments and vacations we could afford and some we couldn't. Tonight is about gratitude. People clapped the way people clap when a speech promises to be gentle. I ran the sweet cut first. People cried where they were supposed to. Dad laughed at his mustache. Mom held her heart with her whole hand. I let the applause land. Then the second cut began, as gently as a rulebook. Bullet points and pictures. No voice, no shame. Just facts wearing their nicest clothes. Murmurs rose like carbonation. A neighbor's head tilted at the screen that said, Sleeping rooms require egress. Vanessa's smile fell off. Adam stiffened. Jace shrank toward the maple. Mom's face went white, then red, then something like listening. My inbox buzzed in my pocket. A reply from the moisture lab, same as before. And then an email from Hayes with no subject. Just a single sentence. I'm off duty, but I'm looking. I breathed. The last frame held. Love makes room. I clicked black. Peyton receives email. Basement moisture test, nor high risk. Sloan's friend from code enforcement is off duty, but curious. You can't call it a witch hunt if the wiring still sparks. After the slideshow, the yard buzzed like a beehive, shaken, then soothed. People laughed too loudly to prove they were comfortable. Mom fluttered at the dessert table, slicing cake like compliance. Dad poured beer like forgiveness. Adam stalked the patio with Jace in tow, explaining that egress is a suggestion and that athletes sleep anywhere. Vanessa caught my eye and tried a smile that failed the code for sincerity. I hauled the dehumidifier up from the basement like a fisherman bringing proof and set it by the patio with a new hose kit coiled beside it. Gravity drain, I said to Dad, so it won't fill and blink at you. He looked around at our watching neighbors, pride in one fist, practicality in the other. We'll see, he grunted, which is Dad for I'm thinking. Hey there, said a voice like a timber beam. Mr. Dalrymple, the retired inspector from 2 houses down, wandered over in his lawn sneakers, paper plate of potato salad in one hand, years of city maps behind his eyes. Saw your slideshow. He nodded. Nice font. I laughed. Thank you. I tried to make the fine print legible. He peered at the dehumidifier, then toward the open basement door where the cool smell escaped like a secret. Mind if I take a gander? Nostalgia, he added. Dad puffed up. Be my guest, he said again, that phrase working overtime this week. We walked down as a small, curious parade. Mr. Dalrymple first, me, Sloane, Aunt Carolyn, and 2 neighbors who might as well have been jurors wearing sandals. Dalrymple scanned, not dramatic, just thorough, the way you check an old dog's hips. He tapped a power strip with a finger. Daisy chain, he said. Never good. He gestured to the panel tucked behind the shelf. Need 36 inches clear, he murmured. He pointed to a box of seasonal sprays by the furnace. Flammables near open flame. Nope. He glanced at the eyebrow window and shook his head once. The slow no of a man who has attended too many aftermaths. Painted shut, he said to no one. Happened a lot in the 90s. Mom hovered at the top of the stairs like a chaperone who regrets volunteering. We keep it tidy, she called. Dalrymple nodded politely. Tidy's nice, he said. Code is safer. He looked at me. You know your stuff. Basements are my tax bracket, I said. He chuckled, then turned to Dad. Insurance hates this, he added conversationally. The sentence landed harder than a sermon. Upstairs, a cousin yelled, Toast! Someone tinked a glass. Vanessa hissed to Adam. Your sister staged this, as if staging truth were a slur. Adam's voice rose, pulling us back up the stairs. What are you doing, Peyton? He demanded as we re-entered the yard. Dragging strangers into our house? Embarrassing Mom? The neighbors pretended to examine napkins. Mr. Dalrymple wiped his hands on a paper towel and chose calm over spectacle. Son, he said, if you've got daisy-chain strips and a blocked panel, your house embarrassed itself. Adam, his face flushed the color of men who have never been told no by a man who isn't their father. You're sabotaging this family, he spat at me. You want to be the hero so bad you will burn the house down to run the hose. Sloane lifted one eyebrow, a firefighter hearing poetry about hydrants from a man who thinks smoke is a rumor. Or, I said steady, I'm saving it from a claim denial and a funeral. The word funeral pricked the lawn into silence. Hayes, off-duty cap low, drifted to Dad's elbow like a weather update. Rob, he said softly, neighbor to neighbor. Panel can't be blocked. Serious fine if an inspector sees it like that. He gestured toward the side yard where the eyebrow window sulked. That window? Not egress. Not close. He let the sentence sit like a weight on a table. Dad nodded once, then again. A man can change species in one nod. Mom's lip trembled. We didn't know, she whispered. Now you do, Aunt Carolyn said, gentle and unsparing. Apologize with keys, not tears, Vanessa sputtered. This is a party. Parties end, I said. Policies endure. Adam threw his hands up. So what? Jace sleeps in the garage? Jace shrank. Finally a child under choreography. Jace sleeps in the guest room, I said. Tonight. Adam laughed like a dare. Over my dead body, he sneered. Mr. Dalrymple's eyes cooled. That's one way to solve the clearance problem, he said dryly. Laughter broke the tension and then reformed as something else. Consensus. I turned to Dad. Office for the kids, I said. Tonight. We'll fix the basement on paper and then in concrete. Or we keep paying Marriott. The yard waited for a gavel. Dad looked at the crowd he hadn't invited. At the daughter he'd taught to fetch the right screwdriver. At the son who had never met a boundary he couldn't charm. He swallowed. Office, he said, voice low but square. Tonight. Mom nodded, eyes wet. Adam sputtered, reaching for volume. Vanessa's mouth opened for a TikTok clapback that no one had cued. I held my smile still. Thank you for hosting, I said again, and meant it differently. Adam storms, you're sabotaging this family, Peyton, or saving it from a claim denial and a funeral. Adam heard office tonight like a demolition order on his ego. He stormed across the patio while cousins pretended to study brownies. You're sabotaging this family, he snapped. Volume turned to Coach. You humiliated Mom in front of everyone. I didn't bother defending the slideshow. I defended the children. I showed conditions, I said evenly. Conditions can change. Vanessa lifted her phone at chest height, auto reflex, and whispered, Go Lev? Adam straightened, rolled his shoulders, and became the version of himself that plays to crowds. People today, he announced to no one and everyone, are raising marshmallows. Basements build character. Champions don't need thread count coddling. Jace looked smaller than the speech he was trapped inside. Mia held her cup with 2 hands. Noah hid behind Aunt Carolyn's leg like it was a tree worth climbing. Sloane watched the extension cord on the grass instead of the man on a stage. "You know what else builds character?" he said. Pleasant. "Breathing through the night," Adam sneered. "And you are?" "Neighbor with a toolkit and a job," Sloane replied. "Not here in uniform, just here with facts." Mr. Dalrymple tapped the dehumidifier. "And potato salad," he added, halving the tension. Mom, shaky, tried diplomacy. "Peyton's being careful," she said, but her eyes looked to me for a script. Dad coughed into a sentence. "Office tonight," he repeated, testing how it felt in his mouth. Vanessa pivoted to optics. She lifted her phone higher and started a TikTok with a chirpy hook. When soft parenting meets real life. Aunt Carolyn S. hand materialized, index finger on the camera lens like a holy seal. "No children on your show," she said. Vanessa's mouth opened, then closed. The lens lowered. Adam, thwarted, escalated. "You always did this," he said to me, words swinging like a bat. "Golden child energy with a martyr complex." I actually laughed. "I was the kid who patched the holes you punched," I said. A neighbor coughed into a laugh and then into a napkin. Adam's voice jumped an octave. "Jace isn't moving," he declared. "He needs his routine. He needs his bathroom. He needs adults who use doors labeled exit." Sloane said, still gentle, "He'll be fine in the guest room." Jace's throat worked. He glanced at the house like it could hide him. "I can take the guest room," he mumbled, 16 and suddenly kind. Vanessa snapped, "No," so fast his kindness flinched. "Your uncle's making a point," she hissed. Aunt Carolyn's eyebrows became architecture. "The point," she said, "is that CPS exists. If I, as a mandatory reporter, hear children are sleeping in a non-conforming basement with a sparking heater and no alarms, I must report. Linda, I won't do that to you if you fix it tonight." Silence spun like a fan. Mom pressed her palm to her apron as if it were a chest wound. "Office," she said. Voice small but finally hers. Dad nodded. "Office," he confirmed. Adam threw up his hands. "Over my dead body," he muttered, bluffing mortality. Mr. Dalrymple smiled like a man who knows permits. "Let's not test that," he said. "I've got a spare smoke CO in my garage. Consider it a housewarming for the office." We moved. That's the secret. Move while the argument is still looking for its next word. I took Mia and Noah upstairs and folded the treadmill like a transformer. Sloane unplugged and coiled cords like a magician producing rope. Aunt Carolyn stripped the guest bed and remade it with office sheets in case compromise needed linen. Mom stood in the doorframe, crying quietly, and then moved too. She fetched the microfiber cloth she hates and wiped dust from the windowsill of the office like apology. Dad arrived with the toolbox, surprised to find himself useful at his own house. We slid the file cabinet 3 feet to clear the path. The room breathed. Adam tried one last sally in the hallway, eyes slick with grievance. "You think you're better than us because you know codes," he said. "No," I answered. "I think codes are better than fire." Vanessa, defeated, collected Jace S. cleats from the master and clacked them down in the guest room like a gavel. "Fine," she said, bitterness wearing lip gloss. Jace whispered, "Thanks," to no one in particular, and to the dog he wished existed. By midnight, Mia and Noah were asleep under a real door with a smoke CO blinking green like a small, righteous lighthouse. The house softened, embarrassed into wisdom. My phone buzzed on the dresser. A text from Mom. "Fine. Office for the kids." A second, seconds later, reply, all from Adam. "Over my dead body." I silenced the thread and kissed my children's foreheads. Power rested. The extension cords on the counter looked like snakes we'd skinned. I set the timeline beside the lamp like a bedtime story with a moral. Sometimes you tuck the night in with paper. Morning, I brewed boundary strength coffee and opened my laptop like a courtroom. Subject line, safety plan and anniversary logistics. Documentation plus next steps. Salutation neutral. Family. Then the body, polite as a contract and twice as sharp. Summary of conditions, 6. 7 Sun, 23:45. Humidity, 172%. Temperature, 61-62 degree at floor. No GFCI within 6N of utility sink. Power strip used as permanent wiring. Space heater, 1500W on strip. Electrical panel clearance, 18. Code requires 36. Combustibles within 12 of furnace. No smoke, CO, and sleeping area. Eyebrow window painted shut. No legal egress. Measurements attached. Events. Heater spark, video. Kids relocated to couch. Family meeting. Decision. Office sleeping. Detectors installed. Guest room available for Jace. Attachments. Swab photos. Hygrometer screenshots. Outlet tester still. Panel and furnace photos. Diagram with egress size. Dehumidifier blinking full. Moisture lab high-risk report. Insurer bulletin non-conforming sleeping spaces. Highlighted. Retired inspector's informal comments. Neighbor Hayes's general note refines. Off-duty. Next, the plan. Immediate. 1. Office designated as kid sleeping area. 2. Clear panel to 36. 3. Remove flammables from furnace zone. 4. Install 2 combo smoke CO. Done. 5. Route dehumidifier to drain hose. Parts acquired. Short term, 10 days. 1. Hire window company to cut proper egress, or designate basement no sleeping hein in writing. 2. Install GFCI near utility sink. 3. Add hardwired smoke CO per floor. 4. Draft guest room assignment policy based on need safety. Medium. 1. Evaluate sump system. 2. Add dedicated outlets. Remove daisy chain strips. 3. Seal and remediate mold. Agreement. No minor sleeps in basement unless code compliant. Room assignments by need, health, age, schedule, not favoritism. Conflicts resolved by written vote. Mom, Dad, Adam, me, Aunt Carolyn as tiebreaker. Tone never spiked. I referenced love 5 times and liability twice. I thanked them for hosting with heart and adapting quickly. I CC'd Aunt Carolyn and, quietly, Naomi Brandt, the family attorney who speaks bullet points natively. I BCC'd myself and printed 2 hard copies for the kitchen corkboard, and the file Ivy started labeled Cross House, History. Attach, attach, attach. I embedded the county code page with highlights and put a pretty gray box around the line about emergency escape and rescue openings. I pasted a simple chart. What we have, what we need. I even added shopping links Dad could tolerate. A 2-pack of UL-listed combo alarms, a GFCI outlet with tamper resistance, a hose kit for the dehumidifier, a tidy outlet expansion with no surge myth marketing. At the bottom, I wrote, "Respect without boundaries is permission. Aunt Carolyn," embroidered on our collective forehead. Then, "Love makes room." Send. The replies arrived like weather systems. Mom first. Thank you for writing this down. Office feels right. I'll make it cozy. Love, Mom. I exhaled a decade. Dad next, pragmatic. Panel will be cleared by tonight. Order the hose kit. Stop announcing to the whole block. I grinned. Jace, astonishing, texted separately. Sorry for being weird. Guest room is fine. I sent a thumbs up and a photo of a proper egress window like a future he could own someday. Vanessa wrote nothing, which was both relief and prologue. Adam, of course. Take me off reply all. You're not my boss. I answered with a screenshot of the agreement section and a single sentence. Your family. Paper is the boss. 3 dots pulsed, then died. Naomi's reply landed with professional gravity. Received. Given your father's homeowner's policy, this email and attachments constitute notice of a known hazard and a proposed remedial plan. Consider this a friendly warning on record. Should there be a claim, this trail shows you advocated for safety. I recommend Dad reply agreed to the immediate steps. She added a PS. Happy to draft a 1-page family safety agreement for signatures. Keeps everyone honest and insurers calm. Aunt Carolyn replied with a sticker of a clipboard and then a sentence. I'll bring pens. Sloan texted during the formatting victory lap. Hose kit arriving by 2. Want me to help Dad install? I typed yes and thank you and I owe you pie. He wrote back 2 pies and a ladder emoji. Mr. Dalrymple slipped a note in Dad A.S. mailbox. Handwriting like blueprints. Listing the 3 cheapest ways to get compliant in a week. Off-duty Hayes sent a neutral follow-up. As a neighbor, clean panel, add alarms. As an officer, not today. That panel fine is real. I filed it under nudge. Noon, I taped the printed plan to the fridge with carrot magnets. Vanessa walked by, read guest room assignment policy, and muttered, policy for a family, like a curse. I smiled at the magnet. Families are small governments, I said. We've just ratified our constitution. By evening, the panel was clear, the hose kit draining to the sump, and 2 brand-new detectors winked at me like conscience. The basement still wasn't a bedroom. The office door was. Paper had woken. The house would follow. I kept the mic because truth likes amplification. The anniversary evening arrived soft and gold, folding chairs facing a fence I'd painted white for this very purpose. The sweet cut still ran first. Weddings and birthdays, Dad's mustache earning its own applause, Mom's perm as a character. People clapped in the right places. Nobody booed the 80s. Then I took a breath that felt like a page turn and cued the second reel, the one I'd titled, What We Call Love. Slides advanced at the tempo of civility. Sleeping rooms require egress. A diagram with friendly arrows. A photo of the eyebrow window with a tape measure. The numbers polite and damning. Electrical panel, 36 clearance. Our panel peeking shyly from behind a bookshelf. Then a stock image of a panel with generous space like a yoga studio. GFCI within 6 of sync. My outlet tester glowing wrong. A product photo glowing right. The dehumidifier blinking full. A manual page with a tidy hose into a sump. The last slide paused longer than the others. Love makes room. No narration. No accusation. The fence became a whiteboard for grown-ups. Murmurs pinged across the yard like fireflies. A cousin whispered, I didn't know basements had rules. A neighbor said, egress, learned a new word. Vanessa reached for her cup and found it empty. She looked briefly human. Adam tried a laugh that didn't catch air. Mom and Dad stood together, very still, which looked like listening. And then the neighbor cop guessed. Officer Morales, uniform under a cardigan because he'd come straight from a shift, cleared his throat with the modesty of a man who dislikes microphones, but likes accuracy. Rob, he said gently, addressing my father like a little league coach, your panel can't be blocked like that. Serious fine. Also, that window's not egress. She's not scolding you. She's right. He shrugged into his paper plate. City eats panels for breakfast. A ripple of relief moved through the crowd. When a uniform says the quiet part, families hear the loud part. Dad winced, then nodded. Understood, he said, words crisp. And I saw the exact moment he chose, agreed over later. Mom squeezed his arm like a rebrand. Adam attempted counter-programming. He stepped near the projector beam and cast a shadow across Love Makes Room, his outline briefly swallowing the words. We're letting fear run this house, he proclaimed. My son is an athlete, not a porcelain doll, and my sister, he gestured at me with open contempt, loves an audience. I considered bowing. Instead, I stepped into the light beside him and clicked to a new slide ID anticipated needing. Office, tonight. Basement, can fix, then future. Bullet points under it, already checked. Detectors installed. Panel cleared. Hose kit installed. Guest room open. The crowd actually applauded. Not for me, for boxes becoming checkmarks. Vanessa hissed, "This is tacky," loud enough for people who had ever been tacky to flinch. Aunt Carolyn appeared with a tray of cupcakes like a peace envoy. "Tacky would be a memorial," she said, offering vanilla. "Compliance is cute." Officer Morales accepted a cupcake and added, "Also, fines double after a notice." He smiled apologetically and melted back into cardigans. I ended the presentation because dessert outvotes data after 10 minutes. "We love you," I said into the mic to my parents and meant it like a permit. 40 years means learning new words together. Tonight, the word is egress. People laughed, and with that, the party exhaled. Music resumed. Children chased bubbles. Mr. Dalrymple critiqued my extension cord taping with affection. Sloan refilled pitchers and quietly replaced a sketchy outdoor plug with one from his truck. Hayes, still off duty, nodded to Morales across the yard like subway conductors. Later, by the cooler, Dad cleared his throat. "Thank you," he said, not looking at me and somehow seeing me entirely. "For writing it down. For the show." I grinned. "I do stage design," I said. "Same principles." Mom hugged me so fast it felt like a rehearsal. "Office is cute," she whispered against my shoulder. I put the good lamp in. We stood like that a second too long and decided to forgive ourselves for why. Adam sulked near the grill. Vanessa narrated his sulking to her followers until her phone died and she had to borrow humility. Jace shyly asked Mia if she wanted his bookshelf from the master. She nodded like a truce. Noah fell asleep in a lawn chair. Aunt Carolyn draped him with my jacket like a treaty. When the last cupcake wrapper hit the trash, I rolled the projector cord with the satisfaction of a day that delivered verbs. Officer Morales shook Dad's hand once more and said, "I'm off the clock now, but your panel isn't." Dad said, "It's clear," like a man who had practiced the line. I loaded bins, kissed cheeks, and carried my microphone case to the car. Behind me, the fence looked very white and very honest. The house looked like it might finally pass inspection. A neighbor cop guest clears his throat. "Rob, your panel can't be blocked like that. Serious fine." I don't raise my voice. I raise the cost. When the music thinned and paper plates stacked like little white shields, I thanked everyone for coming, hugged the aunties, and collected the children the way you gather light before it fades. "We're heading out," I told my parents into the hum of goodbyes. Hotel bedtime. Mom nodded too fast. "Take cake," she said, pressing a plastic dome into my hands, as if frosting could negotiate physics. Dad stared at the lawn he'd cut in parallel lines, measuring pride against liability and finding math he didn't like. Adam stepped between me and the gate like a gate. "You staged a takedown at their anniversary," he hissed. "Congratulations on your TED Talk." Vanessa stood behind him, eyes on her dead phone, thumbs twitching for a live she couldn't start. I balanced cake with one hand and Mia's fingers with the other. "I staged facts," I said. "You can furnish them however you want, but they'll keep being facts." He laughed without air. "You always wanted to be the parent in this house." "Today," I said, "I wanted to be the smoke alarm." Aunt Carolyn joined us like a nurse called to triage a conversation. "Hug your sister, Adam," she said, like giving orders to a student nurse. "Then carry the cooler to the garage and earn forgiveness by labor." He scoffed, then lifted it anyway because muscle memory sometimes outruns ego. Jace hovered near the door. Duffel slumped. Master Suite glow dimmed. "Guest room's fine," he muttered again to the concrete. "Thanks." Vanessa shot him a glare spray-painted with loyalty to Adam. Jace corrected his posture and looked at his shoes like they had betrayed him. Mom found me at the curb, breath catching between words. "We messed up," she said, and the sentence was so brave it broke my knees from the inside. She swallowed pride, tears, and the portion of history that says mothers must never err. "We didn't think. I didn't think. It's just, we're old. We do old things." I put the cake in the trunk and took her hands. "You're not old," I said. "You're practiced. We're revising." She nodded, laughing, crying. "I hate revising." "Me too," I said, though I am built like an editor. Robert came with the toolbox like a flag of truce. "Panel's clear," he said. "Hose is in." Morales said fines double after notice. He glanced at the neighbors still clustered by the fence. "I don't like being the example. Be the model instead," I said. "Same attention, less money." He snorted despite himself. "You always were good with a line." I kissed his cheek the way daughters do when they want to keep fathers alive. Inside, Adam attempted salvage by monologue. He gathered 3 cousins and delivered a speech about optics and modern fragility, holding a cupcake like a microphone. Vanessa hissed, "They ruined your parents' night," to anyone with ears. I loaded Mia and Noah into their seats and buckled them in like wrapping gifts. Noah whispered, "Is the office hours tomorrow?" "Tonight," I said. And until the window gets bigger, Mia exhaled like a tea kettle turned off. Aunt Carolyn handed Mom a Tupperware of her own muffins. "Apologize with keys, not tears," she repeated, then hugged her until the sentence sank where it belonged. Sloane wheeled the dehumidifier hose a final inch to make a sweeter arc. Mr. Dalrymple tucked a handwritten note under Dad's grill cover. "Panel 36. Always. Heaters. Never on strips. Egress. Call my guy." Hayes raised 2 fingers near his cap and drifted to his car with a neighbor's discretion. Officer Morales wiped cake from his lip and said, "Call me if you need a permit, whisperer," and vanished into cardigan dusk. I drove away with children yawning and cake sliding toward a corner, the hotel's neon parenthesis waiting to close around us. The night looked cleaner for having been argued with. At the suite, Mia washed her face like a person clocking out of a job. Noah fell asleep mid-toothbrush, the mint drying into a white smile on the towel. I wrote 3 lines in my notes. Panel cleared. Office tonight. Adam loud. Then I slept the sleep of people who did the paperwork. At 7 a.m., while the waffle machine hissed its daily sermon, a photo landed in my texts from Sloane, then from Dad, then, delightfully, from Aunt Carolyn, who had marched down the driveway in her robe, a yellow city notice taped to my parents' front door, printed in large font that respects denial's eyesight. Correct hazards within 10 days or fines. Underneath, panel clearance, egress requirements, storage by furnace, detector installation, GFCI, a signature, a date, a consequence schedule. My coffee tasted like victory and responsibility at once. I sent a heart to Dad's message and a bicep to Sloane's. Aunt Carolyn added, "Consider this the Lord's post-it." I smiled into my styrofoam cup and typed back, "Amen. Give me a weekend and a Home Depot card. I'll give you compliance." I arrived at my parents' by 9 with a clipboard, a hug, and a trunk that looked like a modest hardware aisle. The yellow notice still fluttered on the door, humming consequence. Robert opened with his jaw set to practical. Linda opened with her heart set to change. "Options," I said, stepping into a living room that smelled like coffee and course correction. 1. Swap rooms permanently. Kids upstairs whenever we visit. Jace in guest room when he visits. 2. We renovate the basement properly. My labor free, you cover materials, egress cut, GFCI near the sink, dedicated outlets, sealed sump, vapor barrier, LVP flooring rated for basements, baseboard heat hardwired, smoke, CO networked, panel clear forever. Terms. Kids do not sleep down there until final inspection passes. Linda blinked, then looked at the notice, like it was a friend delivering tough love. "Both," she said. "A now and a later. Office now. Renovation this week. If you mean it." "I mean it," I said. "I will need Adam to mean it too." On cue, my brother rounded the corner, hair angry. "You're not tearing up Mom's house," he declared. "Over my compressed corpse." I smiled. Sunny as a permit poster. "Then you can pick up drywall while you haunt." Vanessa hovered behind him, arms crossed like caution tape. "We have plans," she announced. "Jace has camp." "Camp is a day," I said. "Egress is forever." Robert's eyes ping-ponged between impossible and inevitable. "Fines start in 10 days, he muttered. "Second fines are uglier." He sighed the sigh of fathers who don't want to be the lesson on the block. "She is," he said to Adam, "meaning I am tearing up Mom's house, and he, Adam, would survive." Linda clapped once the way she does when prayers are answered and pies are done. "I'll make sandwiches," she said, and marched kitchenward like cavalry. We marched to the basement like contractors. I sketched a rough plan on cardboard. Sleeping alcove on the far wall with egress window cut to code framed with pressure-treated wrapped in sill sealer. Add a landing and ladder per spec. Route a new dedicated circuit to 2 outlets. GFCI at the utility sink. Move storage to the far corner with a metal rack. 36 inches around panel painted on the floor like a halo. Seal the slab with epoxy float underlayment. Click in LVP that laughs at wet feet. Baseboard heat hardwired on a thermostat. 2 combo alarms interlinked to upstairs. "Permits?" Robert asked, wary but not resisting. "Pulled this morning," I said, flashing a confirmation number like a magic trick. "Window guy can cut Thursday. Inspector available Friday if we stay on schedule." Sloane, arriving with a tool bag and a grin, tapped the notice with 2 fingers like a coach tapping a helmet. "Motivation," he said. Aunt Carolyn arrived with tape measures and protein bars, because nurses run every marathon in snacks. Mr. Dalrymple shuffled in with a business card for Luis, egress windows, and Hayes, in weekend jeans, wandered past on his walk and gave a neighborly nod that doubled as incentive. Adam tried one last Hail Mary. "You're doing this for attention." "No," I said, pencil behind ear, already mapping studs. "I'm doing it so my kids can visit without sleeping beside combustion. I'll even put a tiny plaque under the window, installed by people who chose love over pride." Vanessa rolled her eyes. Jace cracked a reluctant smile he tried to swallow. We staged the basement like a set. Moved boxes, labeled totes, banished the space heater to retirement, coiled extension cords into a bin marked no. I taped Painter ES plastic to protect what would stay, and taped blue lines where new would go. Sloane killed the power at the panel and started running cable with the reverence of church. Robert fetched the drill and became a man who helps. The house, noticing our intentions, seemed to stand taller on its footings. In the afternoon, Linda brought down sandwiches and apology in equal measure. "I thought making room meant laundry rooms and casseroles," she said, handing me a turkey on wheat. "Turns out it means windows." "Turns out," I agreed, and ate like the sermon was working. Upstairs, the office door sported a paper sign Mia had lettered, "Kid Room, Temporary Official." Noah had drawn a smoke alarm with a smile. By 5, the panel's halo was painted on the concrete. By 6, the GFCI clicked its little test, reset, two-step, a tiny victory dance. At 7, I sent Dad to buy a 3-pack of combo alarms. He returned with 6 because, once converted, zealot. Adam sulked in the doorway long enough to carry out a pile of magazines and then describe the weight like a martyr. Thanks, I said, and meant it. We ended with a to-do list taped to the beam. WED. Circuits and demo. Thew, egress cut. Fry, inspection. Sat, seal and floor. Sun, trim and heat. Linda read it like a menu. "I'll make chili Friday," she said. "The inspector will eat," Aunt Carolyn promised. Motivation smiled from the front door in yellow. Nothing reveals character like drywall dust. Wednesday dawned with the smell of ambition and shop vacs. Sloan cut the power to the basement circuits, and I zipped myself into a paper suit that made me look like a determined marshmallow. Robert hauled the dumpster rental paperwork to the curb, with the grim satisfaction of a man paying penance in cash. Adam arrived with a face like a lawsuit and carried out bins while narrating his benevolence to Vanessa, who filmed helping until I asked her to hold the flashlight and she evaporated. We demoed the non-structural partition that made the room feel like a cubby of denial. The first hammer swing echoed like an apology. Drywall side down. Old insulation coughed dust. I bagged it, taped it, labeled it, because I do not send waste into the world without its name. Mia stood at the base of the stairs in goggles, bouncing on her toes. "My turn? Tomorrow," I said. "Today measure." I handed her the moisture meter and showed her the way the numbers rise and fall like a tide. She and Noah took readings on studs, giggling when the beeps approved. "We're scientists," Noah announced. "With clipboards," Mia added, and I fell in love with oxygen again. Luis, the egress magician, arrived with a crew and a saw that hums like a decision. He chalked the cut on the block wall, checked it twice, and set up a dust tent, which is another word for grace. The first pass vibrated through the house. Linda flinched upstairs and then brought down cookies because she chooses action over nerves. The cut opened the wall like a throat clearing itself. Light entered rudely and then politely. Luis slid in the window buck. Level snapped true. Insulation tucked like a good bed. Sealant laid with a steady hand. The well went in outside with gravel like a moat of responsibility. "Thursday afternoon," he promised. "Trim Friday with inspector, if weather behaves." Weather behaved like it had been CC'd on the plan. While the wall became a window, Sloan and I pulled new 12-2 cable for the dedicated outlets, stapling every 12 inches like a prayer bead. We added a junction box where a junction box should be instead of a wish. The new GFCI near the utility sink sat proud, test and reset buttons ready to earn their keep. I replaced the sketchy expansion strip with a fixed outlet, explaining to Adam in small words that more holes with the right guts beats octopus. He nodded like school was catching. Robert swept like a penitent, and then installed the metal storage rack we D-picked. Flammables high. Furnace clearance painted on the floor with "No storage" stenciled in white like a moat. He looked pleased in a way that made my throat tight. "Good?" he asked, pointing at the halo around the panel. "Saintly," I said, and meant it, and he blushed like a teenager. Lunch tasted like Linda's pep talks. Chili reheated to perfection, cornbread as apology, lemonade that forgives salt. Aunt Carolyn took vitals on my ego and found me stable. Mr. Dalrymple stopped by to admire the egress cut and grunted approval like a building purr. Hayes, still off-duty neighbor, stuck his head in long enough to offer a "looks right or" and a call if the inspector plays poker. Afternoon, we rolled epoxy sealer on the slab, blue-gray shine settling like a fresh yes. The kids stood at the top step, a strict line of "do not enter" tape between them and fumes, and cheered like we'd painted the moon. After the cure window, we floated underlayment that clicked together with the smugness of puzzles. LVP planks went down like an easy conversation. Tap, lock, satisfy. The sleeping alcove started to look like a promise instead of denial. Jace, exiled to the guest room, hovered with a question in his hands. "Can I help?" he asked, teenager swallowed by humble. I handed him spacers and taught him the art of eighth-inch gaps. He listened hard, placed careful, and glanced down the stairs at Mia, with a soft brotherness that made me believe in genetic redemption. Vanessa filmed 5 seconds of him helping and posted a caption about family teamwork. Sloan photobombed her with 2 combo alarms like rabbit ears. She deleted it on site. At 6, Luis returned to set the window and well. Daylight poured in like a verdict. We trimmed the rough opening, shimmed, screwed, foamed, and smiled the smile you smile when a hole becomes an exit. I handed Mia the latch handle. Rule? I asked. Nothing in front of the window, she recited. Keep ladder clear. Practice opening. Tell an adult if it sticks. Noah saluted the well like a submarine port. We ended with blue tape notes for morning, baseboards, caulk, trim paint, interlink alarms, thermostat. The house hummed approval. My phone pinged with the inspector's confirmation for 10 a.m. Friday. I texted Naomi a progress pic. She returned a gavel emoji and compliance couture. We cleaned our tools and our faces and watched the basement glow like it had been waiting to be found. The inspector arrived Friday, checked his boxes, and signed the sticker with a grin. Egress is clean, safer than my place, he said, handing me the pass. Apologies are free. Change has an invoice. Saturday morning, I printed 2 things and slid them into crisp plastic sleeves because ceremony helps truth land. Invoice, family rate 0.00, gift in kind, and family safety agreement. The invoice itemized the whole week like a renovation confession: design consult, demo oversight, electrical labor assist, GFCI install, panel clearance plan, dehumidifier hose kit install, epoxy seal, underlayment, LVP install, baseboard heat coordination, egress window coordination, inspection liaison. To the right of each line, the market rate. At the bottom, a fat total. Beneath it, a stamp I made years ago for clients I love. Paid in full. Love. Robert read the invoice the way men read menus when they intend to tip. This is robbery, he murmured, half proud, half mortified. It's a gift, I said, tapping the red stamp. I want you to know what you received. Linda pressed a palm to her chest. I don't deserve this, she whispered. You deserve windows, I answered. We all do. Then the second sleeve. This is the one that keeps us honest, I said, and slid the family safety agreement onto the table like a peace treaty. It was 1 page, clear font, no italics, policy that fits on a refrigerator. 1. No minor sleeps in the basement unless space meets sleeping room code. Egress, alarms, clearance, outlets. 2. Room assignments are based on need, age, health, duration, schedule, not favoritism. 3. Electrical panel maintains 36 clearance at all times. Furnace clearance maintained. No flammables in zone. 4. No space heaters on strips. No daisy-chained power. 5. Disputes resolved by vote. Linda, Robert, Peyton, Adam, with Aunt Carolyn as tiebreaker. 6. Policy reviewed annually at Thanksgiving. Spaces for signatures and dates. A line for home maintenance decision-maker, primary contact, with a blank. Linda reached for the pen first, eyes bright. She signed like a person stepping into a new room. Robert followed, jaw set, liking that rules were printed where pride could read them. Jace watched with a teenager's dawning appreciation for paperwork that might save him from grown-up weather. I handed Adam a pen. He set it down like a protest sign. No, he said simply. I'm not signing your power grab. It's not a power grab, I said. It's a fire extinguisher. He laughed without humor. You think you're in charge because you know where to buy a hose kit. Vanessa folded her arms like a gate. We are not putting our names on your constitution. Aunt Carolyn sipped coffee, then set her mug down gently. This isn't her constitution, she said. It's the house's, it's the grandkids. She turned to Adam. You lost the argument when the notice hit the door. Robert lifted the page again, reading the lines about panel clearance and no strip heaters. Common sense, he said. Adam rolled his eyes. Common sense is not asking permission to tuck in your kids. I kept my tone even. The agreement doesn't require permission. It sets defaults, future-proofing, so we don't have to repeat this week in louder fonts. Naomi called then, timing like a stage manager. I hit speaker. Morning all, she said, voice smooth as law. I reviewed the notice and your homeowner's policy. Many carriers are adding riders that reward documented safety policies. If you adopt Peyton's one-pager and stick it on the fridge, you become the family that gets the benefit of doubt, not the one that triggers exclusions. Also, if another relative ever complains or, God forbid, an incident occurs, your signed policy is Exhibit A that you behaved reasonably. Courts like reason. She paused. Adam, you don't have to sign. But if you don't, claims adjusters and judges will ask why. Vanessa whispered, insurance again. Like the word was petty. Naomi smiled through the phone. Insurance is just math in a suit, she said. Math loves signatures. Robert exhaled. Where do I initial? He asked. Linda handed him the pen like communion. Adam stared at the line for a long, unflattering minute. You're making me admit I was wrong, he said finally. I'm asking you to choose better going forward, I said. Wrong is what we were. Right is what we're doing. He picked up the pen, clicked it too many times, and scrawled Adam like a weather report. Vanessa signed smaller, as if size could lessen agreement. Aunt Carolyn signed with a flourish that would pass any audit. Last line, I said softly, tapping home maintenance decision maker, primary contact. Robert looked between us, then at the basement door, then at the notice glowing in his peripheral vision. Peyton, he said, and wrote my name. Linda's relief arrived like fresh air. I slid the signed page into a sleeve labeled fridge copy and taped a second to the inside of the hall closet with the warranties. Apologies are free, I said, sliding the $0 invoice into a binder labeled home safety. But change gets a receipt. Adam refuses to sign. Until Naomi mentions an insurance writer requiring a documented safety policy, regret is loud. Reform is quieter. Sunday after lunch, Linda asked the kids to meet her in the office. Their signs still taped to the door. Kid room, temporary, official, and sat on the edge of the treadmill like a penitent on a pew. Mia, Noah, she began, hands trembling. Grandma forgot herself. I forgot that love makes room. I put a poster on the wall that said family first, and then I didn't act like it. She swallowed. I am sorry. Mia's eyes got wet, and then brave. We forgive you, she said, generous because she still believes apologies should work. Noah hugged Linda's waist and announced, We like windows. Linda laughed and cried in the same breath. Me too, she said. She found me in the kitchen next, apron untied like a white flag. I'm sorry, she said, looking straight at me. Not around me, not through me. For the week. For the years I called you dramatic when you were just early. I let that sentence break me kindly. Thank you, I said, because I have learned to accept repentance without annotating it. We hugged like people who prefer verbs. Robert gathered the family in the living room and did something revolutionary. He spoke without defending himself. I let pride make decisions, he said. I crowned convenience and called it love. Peyton saved us from a future I don't want to imagine. Thank you. He turned to Jace and Adam. The master suite is for grown-ups or for need, not for peacock. Jace's ears turned pink. Adam's mouth prepared an op-ed and then lost the will. Jace shuffled down the hall and came back carrying the master's bookshelf, cheeks red, bones suddenly good. Mia, he mumbled, not looking at Vanessa. Do you want this in your room at home? For art stuff? Mia's face lit like the egress window at noon. Yes, she said, reverent. Jace nodded, relief making him taller. He glanced at me and risked eye contact. Thanks for fixing the basement, he said, teenager humility in its natural habitat. I didn't know. Now you do, I said. We all do. Aunt Carolyn signed the family safety agreement with a flourish and an amendment. A small sticky note on the fridge copy that read, Add Maya and Noah, S signatures when they turn 12. Teach them the policy. We make generational safety, she declared. Vanessa muttered something about performative paperwork, but her shoulders had fallen out of siege posture. She even asked if she could bring a salad next Sunday to celebrate the window, which is her way of laying down a weapon. Adam picked up the pen like a man dragging a sled across gravel and signed the fridge copy again, bigger this time, as if size could rename surrender as leadership. He slammed the pen in a way that tried to feel like victory. Happy? He asked me, brittle. Safer, I said. Happier will take practice. We built a binder like a trousseau. Warranties, permits, inspection sign-off. Naomi's one-pager, The insurer bulletin Sloan had forwarded, Mr. Dalrymple's handwritten notes, Hayes's polite neighbor email, Officer Morales's business card with panel circled, the 000 invoice stamped paid in full, love. Linda labeled the spine home safety in her precise primary school teacher hand, and for the first time in days, the house felt like it could exhale without flinching. That afternoon, we taught the kids a new ritual. Window drill. Luis's egress gleamed. We opened the latch, lifted the sash, set the ladder, timed the climb. Noah went first because nothing scares him except Brussels sprouts. Mia followed, deliberate and quick. We practiced twice, then ate popsicles on the stoop, and told them how proud we were of their feat. Jace watched from the grass, an athlete recalibrating what training means. Before dinner, Robert cleared his throat. "One more thing," he said, glancing at me, then at Linda. He pulled out his phone, opened his insurer's app, and turned the screen so I could read, Primary Home Maintenance Decision Maker, Peyton Cross. He had already added me as the contact for contractors, permits, and emergencies, the way companies prefer one adult to speak house. "You know the language," he said, shrugging like it wasn't a revolution. "I'll still swing a hammer, but you hold the clipboard." I laughed and cried again because women often multitask joy. Across the room, Adam saw the screen over Robert's shoulder and stiffened like a statue experiencing weather. "You made her the boss?" he asked, wounded by nouns. Robert didn't flinch. "I made her the adult who answers the phone when physics calls," he said simply. "You're allowed to be useful too." We ate dinner, chili again by request, and passed bread with the easy choreography families earn, then lose, then rebuild. After, Linda handed me a brand new binder she labeled in gold, Cross Family, room charts with a calendar inside for holidays and a rotating guest room schedule that reads like fairness. "Reform is quieter," I whispered to Aunt Carolyn, "but it hums." Robert privately adds Peyton as home maintenance decision-maker on their policy. Adam finds out later. We didn't just build a bedroom. We built a rule. Monday afternoon, sun poured through the new egress like the house had remembered a word. The basement no longer smelled like a confession. It smelled faintly of fresh paint and the clean plastic of new alarms. The sleeping alcove gleamed. Low bunks for visiting cousins. Sconce lights hardwired to a wall switch. Outlets where outlets belong, a soft rug rated for basements. A framed sign Mia lettered that reads, "This is a play zone, not a night zone," unless code says yes. Noah added a doodle of a smiling smoke detector giving a thumbs up because he is a comedian. I walked my parents through the finished space like a docent. Egress, meets and exceeds size, latch operable by child. Panel, 36 inches, halo painted, no storage ever. GFCI, within 6 feet of sink. Outlets, dedicated, no octopus. Heat, hardwired baseboard on a thermostat. Alarms, interlinked with main floor. Linda touched the trim like gratitude had a grain. Robert ran his palm along the painted floor halo and nodded like a man who enjoys circles. Upstairs, the family safety agreement lived on the fridge. Not as threat, but as furniture. The home safety binder took its place beside warranties. The room charts binder wore its gold label like a crown that knows its job. Thanksgiving, Christmas, spring break, summer. Lines with names, rotating fairness. Jace's name appeared beside guest room for his next visit, not because he is an athlete, but because he will have a late practice. Mia and Noah's names appeared beside office, kid room, whenever we're in town. Need, not favoritism. The ink made it true every day it was read. We wrote new rituals. When family arrives, we do tour and test, show exits, test alarms, point at panel halo, tap the egress latch. Before bed, we do window walk. Kids wave at the well and whisper, "See you never to smoke, that will not arrive." After dinner, we do policy cheers. One deli pickle raised to the fridge page, one cookie to the binder. It's silly. It works. I went home to my own place in the city and built a smaller thing with a larger meaning. A granny suite plan sketched on tracing paper that fits my upstairs. Just enough space for Linda and Robert when the time comes that stairs are enemies, and independence needs a door that closes. I labeled it Someday, and tucked it in a folder called Love with Permits. Aunt Carolyn cried when she saw it, then critiqued my counter depth like a professional. Clients returned, texts dinging with, "Can you squeeze us in?" And we saw your window on Instagram. Vanessa posted a before and after reel with a surprisingly humble caption. We are all evolving. I added a resources page to my business site, a checklist for safe guest spaces, sample family safety agreement download links to egress window guides, a script for how to ask parents for a room swap without starting a war. People wrote back with stories that smelled like our week and thanked me for giving them fonts. On our last night in town for this visit, we ate lasagna under the string lights from the party, the same ones that had lit a slideshow and an argument and a pivot. Officer Morales dropped by without a cardigan, off-duty and curious, checked the panel halo and said, "Looks good, Rob." Mr. Dalrymple inspected the trim and grunted approval that translated to poetry. Hayes waved from the sidewalk, hands in pockets like a neighborhood blessing. Sloane sat on the stoop with Noah discussing which alarm has the best chirp. Jace and Mia shelved books in the office in companionable silence that felt like a kind of salvage. When it was time for bed, I walked Mia and Noah to their door, the office, and tucked them under quilts that smelled like sun. We left the door cracked, the hallway nightlight on, the rules humming on the refrigerator like a second heartbeat. Linda kissed their foreheads, and then mine. "Thank you for making us better," she whispered. "Thank you for letting me," I said, meaning the middle part most. On the drive back to the hotel, Noah asked why we did so much work. "Because we love people enough to build rooms that hold them," I said. Mia squeezed my hand and looked out the window at a house with a rectangle of new light near the ground, like safety waving. My phone buzzed with a message from Naomi, proud of the binder. "Send me a photo for my quietly aggressive Pinterest." I laughed, sent it, and then opened a new note titled, "What We Call Love." So when they ask why I didn't just let it go, I say, because my kids sleep where the smoke alarm can find them. Would you forgive or make them sign the policy? Comment, forgive, or enforce, and tell me why. If this hit a nerve, subscribe for weekly emotional justice stories, and share this with one friend who is wrestling with family rules that forgot safety.